Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Today I have AR Witham here with me, also known as Andy, with a fantastic mug. And we're going to be discussing a little book known as The Will of the Many by James Islington. And I think it's safe to say we have thoughts.
Good thoughts.
We have thoughts. And we read this as part of the buddy read that happened over at the Keymark Discord. And I mean, I'm going to presume this, but I have a feeling we're going to be also doing a buddy read for the second book down the road, potentially. So, I mean, if you want to check that out and
Wait,
see what the Discord is.
you want to take bets on how long it'll take for the second book to come out?
Well, it's scheduled for November.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so
Okay,
it is
great.
coming out.
Fantastic. We're not looking at a King Killer Chronicles problem.
No, and you know what, Andy, we're also a little slow to the game. I think this released a couple years ago. So yeah, we planned this clearly.
Oh
We planned
no,
the timing.
this is the perfect time for me to be exposed to a book, is when it's been released a couple of years ago. I'm good.
Exactly. It was very well planned. So yeah, if you want to check out the Discord, by all means, link in the description. Unfortunately, Madison could not join us today as she is under the weather. So we do hope she feels better soon and she can join us for the next discussion. But
I will
yeah,
take Madison's place. I will
where's
be
your wig,
fabulous
Andy?
and ebullient and have lots of energy and purple hair and pithy comments.
Of course. So we're going to start off the conversation today with a spoiler-free section and then a spoiler discussion. We're going to do our best. For those of you joining in the chat, feel free to share your own thoughts and we'll balance that best we can.
At
But
10 o'clock in the morning. Hi, Terry.
At 10 o'clock in the morning, yes, exactly. I've got my caffeine, do you? So we'll put the spoiler-free banner on for those watching now and later.
Nice.
And then we'll give a little warning before we dive into spoilers. But yes, good morning, Terry. And yeah, look, we've already got Terry in for a buddy read on book 2.
Madison from her hospital bed, crawling here by her lips to be Come on, Madison, grab a microphone, jump in.
Oh, and sick kiddo. Oh, I hope you guys feel so much better soon, because it's summer colds. They should not be a thing. They're terrible. It's nice outside. You want to be out, but being snuggled up is good too.
I know today is pool day for us. Nice. So as soon as this is over, we are heading to Big Al up in Middle Indiana with a 10-meter board that we need to jump off every summer.
Oh, yeah, good on you. Would not be caught dead doing that.
Summer is for.
True. Yeah. No, my family can do that in my place. So we'll dive in with our spoiler-free thoughts. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you a question before we ever walked in, right? What was your perceived perception of this book? Did you know anything about it? Oh, I had this friend that read it and liked it. Oh, I had this friend that read it and said it was junk. What was your preconception walking in the door?
Not a lot. I'll be honest. I like to go into books blind. Basically what I had heard was that it was good and a lot of people were enjoying it. I was familiar with James Islington's name, at least from the Heinous trilogy, although I have not read it. So I was like, you know what?
You're not that familiar with his name. It's Islington.
Islington. Is it Islington? Why is there an S there?
Now, it might be Islington, Islington, or Islington.
This is going to be a long conversation if we're debating over names. Andy.
Oh, you're right. It's a silent L. I just looked it up.
But yeah, basically, I had very little idea of what I was in for. I knew it was probably going to be a slow burn. I knew it was very much hype. But I waited. I bought this when it released, and I waited till now to read it because I give myself buffer time between hypes on books, just so that I don't get caught on the hype train so much and be fully disappointed, because that's happened too many times. So yeah, I wait now.
Was this one hyped right off the bat? Was this like a big opening?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think it was. It was hyped quite a bit. Like this, I don't think you can buy this edition anymore. And this is just the regular edition that was launched. Now it's like a gold edging and it's all fancy. It has different artwork.
Look at the way you read books. It's just all the little tabs I just love.
Do I remember what they are, Andy?
No.
No.
Not a clue.
They're there though.
You got to go back and read the sequel next year or
Yes.
in November, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. So what about you then?
Oh, so all I knew is that it was a book that had a cover. That was pretty much the extent of my knowledge of what was going on. I kept seeing it over and over again, and when I would see it, it kept hitting me as something that would hit the right way for me. Not super dark, but got some danger and dark elements to it, and kind of felt like an all ages thing, which I usually like.
Yeah.
So I had okay, let's just jump right in. I had no idea how similar it was going to be to Red Rising. I had no idea that we were looking at Maze Runner Part 2. I had no idea that we were doing another Katniss Everdeen. And this is not to like insult the story at all. We've done this over and over again. There's kind of a formula block structure that we're working with. And I think what was amazing is the fact that he brought some really cool things to it. The magic system is amazing and mysterious and not quite defined, which is perfect for me because I don't have a bunch of hardline rules that I need to follow throughout. Okay, I'm just going to jump. You gave me concerns at the beginning, and we'll talk about Act 1.
I'm sorry.
No, because you were right. You were like, what is not quite right about this? And Kay was the one that said, but he doesn't have a sense of agency. And I was like, oh crap, she's right. And
it's very well masked.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the first act. Let's do that.
So, okay. Well, hold on.
Brilliant observation. Go ahead.
Are we going this is still spoiler free, right?
Yeah. We are going to go spoiler free. We're going to do our best.
Spoiler free thought. Overall, where would you rate this on a scale of 5 stars, 1 to 10? Was it enjoyable? Would you continue? That kind of idea.
Okay. So remember Red Rising, right? When I got to the end of Act 1 on Red Rising, I thought, this is a 10. This is amazing. Right. This is astounding. And then I got to the magical school, and I was like, this is a little long. I don't like a lot of these people. I'm not enjoying myself as much as I thought. Give it a 7. Right. And then we get to the end, and it came up, and I enjoyed myself. I had a good time, and I would give it I'd give Red Rising like a 7.5 or 8. Everybody yell at me for not liking it enough, but okay, that's what was my experience with it. Will of the Many was the opposite. Will of the Many started off like, oh, there's a really cool magic system, and okay, I'm being given a lot of exposition. And then we get to the magic school, and it's cool. There's interesting parts and pieces. I'm given a couple of mysteries, and then okay, I'm in, but I still feel like I'm kind of dealing with a faceless main character who could be replaced by anybody. And then we get to Act 3. And so Will of the Many comes at, like, I finished it last night. Coming out of last night, I'll say it's a 9. It may reduce over time because the instant thrill isn't gone, but that third act is killer.
Yeah. Okay. So very similar experience to me then, because the part 1 at first, like the first few chapters where we meet the main character, I was like, okay, interesting world, interesting circumstance that this character is in. Notice a lot of similarities. Yeah. Like, and I had just come off of reading Empire of Silence by Christopher Rucchio as well. And similar to you, I saw a lot of similarities to Darrow's character and that Red Rising and stuff. So for me, it was a mix of Hadrian and Darrow coming in. So I was like, okay, I kind of have an idea of what I'm going in for. And then it kind of, because I'm a character-driven reader, and that lack of agency part kind of killed it for me there. But then part 2, again, it was like a little bit of a slog going through the school, and then a little bit of So basically for me, it was a bit of a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Interesting
Okay.
things, less interesting things, less interesting until we got to the part 3.
Yep.
And I would say the second half of part 3.
Yeah.
Um, I can't remember who said it in the Discord, but basically a Sanderlanche of an ending, right? So yeah, I would say overall it was I don't wanna put it, like, super high in ratings just because of the ending, though. I
Mhm.
would say it's about mid-par for me. I
Yeah.
feel like if I wasn't the type of reader who enjoys slow burns to begin with, this would be a slog, for someone who's not used to really thick, dense stories,
Okay.
and waiting, because there's a lot of waiting,
Yes.
right? So, yeah, I think it's kind of mid for me. There are aspects I really like, but I think I would have liked to see it something a little bit more engaging. Anyway, with that being the
I
case,
enjoyed a book more than you did. That's just wrong.
I don't know. I would put it like if I'm rating it on a star rating, maybe 3.5, 3.5, 4 maybe.
Wow. Okay.
So, you know, it's kind of in there. Similar to you, I only finished this like a day or two ago.
Yeah. Okay. So let me ask you a question. Goodreads has this sucker registered at 639 pages. Do you
Mhm.
feel like this would have been a better story minus 100 pages?
That's hard to say because
Woo. Okay.
I feel like some of the things he did was absolutely necessary, but at the same time, the way he went about things was not quite for me. And we'll get into that in the spoiler section because I feel like we just need to dig in. So I'm gonna
Maybe. Okay. So let's
yeah.
serve the audience by doing whatever we should do to serve the audience. Tell them why they should read it or why they shouldn't. What do you want to do?
Well, I would say if you like the Roman style empire settings with interesting magic, and like you said, it's not always explained. You have a character who is an orphan put into a kind of mystery mission setting. He has to go to a magic school and like scope out some stuff. And if you like the slow burn and the constant pull along with the mystery, absolutely check it out. But, I mean, if you're the type of reader that doesn't sound interesting, I try something else,
Right.
you know, because that's very much all this book is. It's 600 pages of missions and secret spy stuff and Roman settings and Roman world building, or at least influences in its hierarchies and stuff. But yeah.
All right. Well, then I will go ahead and back it up with a little bit more. This is a Goodreads Choice Award. It is the nominee for Reader's Favorite Fantasy of 2023. It is one of the most popular fantasy books on the market right now, with 135,000 ratings on Goodreads for a book that is what, 2 years old? It
Mhm.
is a guaranteed bona fide smash out of the park hit. And if you are involved in the SFF community and you have not read this book, you are going to find yourself missing some notes out of your musical sheet in the same way that you would be missing notes if you haven't read Red Rising, if you haven't read
Mm.
take your pick down the list of all the stuff that we have to read so that we can communicate with each other through a common language. Uh, I really honestly feel like this is one of those books. So
Mm.
if you are in the community, I think it is important that you read it so that at least you can have a frame of reference. It doesn't mean that you are necessarily going to like it. Oh, I'm liking what, okay, I'm seeing the comments. Terry, it's
Yeah.
the mystery that kept me engaged the whole time. I'm with Terry on this one. The
Mm.
magic system is beautiful, unique, and just ill-defined enough so that it doesn't become science and physics and becomes something mysterious and magical and something you don't understand. And oh, by the way, our main character does not have access. So it is all exterior. We're not going through his process of manufacturing his mana or blah, blah, blah. It also has a good progression fantasy aspect to it, where there is a series of challenges in front of
Mm.
the kid. I mean, let's be honest here. We spent the first act setting him up, setting up the world, and letting them know what is happening. The second act, we are in the magical school, and we need to get from class 8 to class 1. and we need to do that before the end of the year, and you need to graduate valedictorian at the top of the class or you will die. Right? This is what you need to do. So there are like basically 8 different challenges that he has to go through with character stuff built in throughout, and that works very well. And then the third act is not an entirely different thing. The third act is the valedictorian. Are you going to make it or not? So it's got a nice format to it. It's very easy to follow. The Greek Roman thing saves him a lot of time on world exposition. So there's a lot of things that you just kind of know from being a human being that has read other books. Which is helpful. He spends a lot of his time working each chapter going from point A to point B, and usually taking you on a little bit of a circuitous route to get there, which is just damn good storytelling. There's a lot of interesting ideas, concepts, challenges, and a lot of things that are completely undefined and unexplainable that leave you with a sense of mystery that is hopefully what you're looking for when you walk into a fantasy novel of how the hell did that just happen? What am I even looking at? Oh my gosh, I thought I understood the world, and I don't. So I think that there's a lot of mystery, and the whole thing is a maze. It's all a labyrinth. How are you going to find your way to the center? What am I going to find around the next corner? Where's the Minotaur? So that, and it's little stupid things like there's a lot of it that's outside. I like Harry Potter a lot, but they're always in the school, and this gets us out of the school quite a bit, and we spend a lot of time outside. We're going to interesting different places, and we're not just going into town to get a butterbeer. So I think there's I'm really weird about betrayal. This is a personal thing. I'm really weird about betrayal and not having it happen all the time. I like betrayal in a story because it serves as a fantastic punch, but you don't. Whereas with Darrow, you felt like you were going to get stabbed in the back at any given moment. With this one, it has a sense of intrigue to it, but it's more tempered, which makes me feel a little bit safer as a reader going through the story, in that I'm probably going to get blindsided. I'm probably not going to see it coming, but it's also probably only going to happen once. And it's going to come with a purpose.
Fair. Yeah.
And I liked, we were talking about this earlier. I will confess, I got lost in some of the female characters a little bit. I started switching faces. This is a product of audiobook, and God bless me, I'm just not that smart. But trying to keep everybody straight, I failed at. However, that didn't keep me from enjoying the book. And I really like the fact that we have more than one female character that works. Right? We've got our mysterious trainer. We've got our semi-love interest. We've got our mysterious, I don't know what's going on over there, and just a couple of friends. And in addition, we built some friendships during the book. You know that I like Kingkiller Chronicles. We've got Will and Simi, that like we have in the Kingkiller Chronicles, almost the exact same thing in this book with the two friends that he develops during his time in school. And I really enjoyed that. I liked that friendship aspect of it. So that is a long way of me saying that you have to read it.
I think we need to switch jobs here, Andy.
Great. You can write. I will read books and comment on them. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Please take my computer.
I won't do a good job, but I also want to bring up Madison's comment here, where she says, "You all probably need me, the audio girl." For Madison, we had the audiobook.
Good.
And we definitely needed you regardless.
And Kay's smart enough to do synchronicity read. What's it called?
Immersion reading.
Immersion read.
So physical with audiobook.
Yeah. So Kay was able to help me right before the thing started, of helping me sort out who was who real quick, because I did part 1, took a break for 2 weeks, did part 2, took a break for 2 weeks, more than that, did part 3. So I kind of lost track of who was who a little bit. Didn't stop me from enjoying the story, but that her visual reading of it was able, because I go in and I look up a character cast list, and I'm like, who are these people? Because I don't know what their names look like.
And it's a big cast, right? Yeah. And everyone has their own little motivations behind the scenes. So yeah, definitely I could see mixing up some characters.
You know what? Okay. I think I got to say this. I think he deserves a hell of a lot of credit for creating at least a dozen. I'm gonna stop it as a dozen. I'm gonna say he creates at least a dozen individual characters that
Mhm.
you need to know. And I thought where I lost track genuinely with Red Rising of who is who, especially when we went to the second book. I was like, who are these people? Am I supposed to know them? And I think Islington did a fantastic job of creating distinct characters that were memorable. And I didn't spend a lot of time trying to reference back and go, who is this? Who is this?
Yeah.
And I think that like you can't do a slow burn without doing that, right?
Mm.
Yay slow
Right.
burn, boo slow burn, but you shouldn't even try a slow burn unless you can say orange, purple, blue, yellow, green. Remember them? Yeah. Okay, good.
Color code the characters at that
Right.
point. Yeah.
Well, and
No,
Sanderson has
that's
a
fair.
thing about that. He's like, you need to give each character one visual reference so that the
Mhm.
reader can then, they haven't seen them in 30 chapters, the reader
Yeah.
can go, oh, yeah, that's the guy with the scar under his eye. Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Terry's in agreement with you there too. Distinct
Yeah.
characters, very good mix of intriguing characters. That's the other thing is you want, like as a reader, I would want the side characters to have their own motivations, their own agencies about
Mhm.
them as well, because they're all meant to be, just as real as any of us, right? When it comes down to us, we all have our own experiences, we all have our own motivations in life. And so when it comes to a story, it makes it that much more fuller when you know that maybe let's like in this case it's through Viz's POV only. We know his motivations, but we also recognize that everyone else has their own motivations, could do anything at any time to mess up his plans. And yeah, that part I think too makes it that much better for me.
And since we're doing service to the people watching this, I will say, if you're reading this, you probably already know your SFF tropes. You
Mhm.
already know mentor figures and magical school and all of these things. And I think he does a fantastic job of flipping it on its head. Number one,
Mm.
you do not understand the magic system. And just at the point that you think that you're starting to understand the magic system, it is made very clear that you absolutely do not understand the magic system. Number two, you have the mentor figure who is not a mentor figure, the trainer who is not the trainer, the kindly school headmaster Dumbledore who is not the kindly headmaster school Dumbledore. Like all of those people are there, but none of them are what you're expecting them to be.
Mhm.
Exactly what makes it compelling,
Yeah.
because you keep going, well, I don't understand. Is he good? Is she good? Is she with? What did they do? What are they with? And so
Yeah.
that, there's like Terry was saying, who's the chatty feller? It was like Terry was saying, who. This was a mystery that kept me going the entire time,
Mhm.
and not knowing where Dumbledore was coming from, or where the mentor was coming from, or where Ron and Hermione were coming from, or where Mustang was coming from, right? It
Yeah.
that sense of intrigue. I did not feel like I was reading vanilla
Yeah.
pablum, same old rubber stamps fantasy.
Yeah, that's fair. And yes, welcome, Andrew. Always good to see you. Good morning. So yeah, with that, why don't we jump into the spoiler discussion?
Oh man, we're
Um,
going. All right.
let's just go for it. Because I feel like this conversation just needs to take that turn at this point. So for
I
those
feel like this
watching,
conversation has been derailed.
well, no, I think we covered spoiler free pretty well. You did a fantastic job at it. So we're gonna, for those watching, you've been warned. If you are watching now, you've not read the book, you don't want spoilers, dip now, and come back later.
Now, putting on my spoiler glasses.
And there you go. And yeah, so we'll dive into to spoiler discussions.
And while
I
Andrew is here, I just want to say one of the
Yeah.
things that Andrew warned me about up front was that he is a Gary Stu. And I actually called him later to ask him questions about Gary Stu, because I understand it in general. I'm worried about where the tipping point is on what makes somebody a Gary Stu, whether versus just being capable.
Mm.
But I thought that was a fair observation on Viz and who he was. So that helped me a lot on this. Sorry, go ahead, Kay.
Okay, no, that's all right. I'm gonna have to look that up too because I don't know what that.
Oh, Gary Stu or Mary
Yeah.
Sue is just a character that's good at everything. right?
Ah,
People
okay,
will
okay.
complain that Kvothe in Kingkiller is a Gary Stu because he's good at everything, right? They're just going to succeed at everything they do.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of that. There is a lot of, oh, I'm going to play her in this chess game because like it shows up like late in Act 2, and we barely mentioned this chess game ever in the entire book. And oh yes, he's a magnificent master at it, right? There's a little bit of that
Yeah.
as they go.
It's like sprinkled in mentions and stuff throughout. I think when it comes to that, there's a lot of the main character playing a bit dumb to lower everyone else's expectations so
Absolutely.
that he can kind of crush later.
Which
And
he
I think
says
that was
outright.
yeah, he does say that. So, it's probably not gonna happen, Andy, but we're gonna try and start with part 1.
Oh, right. Order?
We're gonna try and start with the beginning.
Okay.
I'm really curious what you thought of the sappers, because again, it's a little mysterious, and it's our first introduction with Fizz because he works in basically their jail system. Being an orphan, he works there, and the sappers are kind of this don't want to end up there situation for this world. So I'm really curious what you thought of them, because for me, it was this ominous, overhanging like entity the whole time for Viz.
I honestly, from Jump Street, thought that the sappers were the greatest science fiction fantasy threat I have ever read. The idea of there is a hospital table and they're going to slap you on the hospital table and this thing is going to suck the will out of you until you are nothing but a withered husk is 10 times worse than prison. It's 10 times worse than any dungeon. It is a living hell. And the idea of that you are going to be sent to the sappers is not you are going to be sent to the prison, or even we're going to send you to the dragon to get eaten, right? As today's sacrifice, it is the rest of your life will be a living hell. And I from Jump Street, but again, I think you and I talked about this. I think of it as the sapper tables being the pods in the Matrix where the D-cell human batteries are kept. And if the sappers are not all feeding the primus of whoever is the person that's all of that will has to be going somewhere.
Oh yeah.
So it's feeding the king, it's feeding the queen, right? I don't even know who's in charge. Oh, we do. We met the person who's in charge, who seemed like a much nicer person than they ought to be.
Yep.
Maybe there's a wizard behind the curtain. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a terrifying threat the entire time. And you kind of meet characters along the way who have been in those sappers as well.
Yeah, friggin' his best buddy, you find out at the end.
It's just terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. So yeah, I'm really curious where it leads with the rest of the series, like what we'll learn about them. Because I'm also curious if they're part of that. And someone correct me if I'm wrong, because I could have missed this. But it wasn't really described, right? So I'm wondering if it's part of that pre-cataclysm technology, or was part of the cataclysm that happened in this world. And it's kind of the leftovers that the hierarchy used as their method of punishment. If someone knows more information, please tell me.
Well, especially given what we know with the ridiculous ending.
Yeah. But yeah, so part 1, and then you also really like the transvect for world building, right? You like that concept of the transvect.
So one of the problems that fantasy in particular has is traveling long distances. You got to do a whole Lord of the Rings thing in order to get from point A to point B. And he got around that. And, that should be just, and it is, let's be honest, it's just a function, right? It's not really all that interesting. However, just the way it was presented felt like I'm supposed to be in a Roman fantasy world, and now a floating maglev train tank shows up. What is happening?
A floating tank. I love it.
And I thought that was really cool because, again, part of what I think he does really well is take the expectation and twist it so that
Mm,
you don't feel like you've read it before because, okay, whatever,
right.
some other book would do an airship or some other excuse to get you from point A to point B really quickly. But he's like, no, I'm going to throw in something really weird that feels like it's out of Dune. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And
And no, go ahead. Sorry.
if you do that, you've got me for another 4 chapters. What are you
Yeah.
going to do next?
And it comes at a cost, right? It takes will to make it work. And we already recognize that that is, you know, a concern of the hierarchy's
A
power,
concern.
right? A concern. So yeah, everything in this world seems to come at a cost of some kind. And there are people fighting on either side, but there's so much mystery. Like even Terry's like, it's another mystery. The sappers he's referring to,
Yeah.
the sappers are another mystery. I'm still wondering. Yeah, I imagine a lot of this is going to come back to pre-cataclysm, but um, I really found it interesting in terms of the world building that everything comes at a cost. And yes, we have the big bad empire that's doing all of this, but there's a lot of morality discussion around the people who are compliant within the hierarchy, who are providing the will rather than fighting back. And I know it kind of makes that argument from side to side between the Anguis and the Empire because we have this whole rebellion kind of going on at the same time. But it's also not so black and white,
Yeah. That's
right?
the best part because it should
Yes.
be evil empire, good rebellion, done. And it's not.
It's not. Those poor people are also just trying to survive and don't want to take the risks or can't take the risks to fight back, or it's all they've known. And they're complacent because it's what they know. So it's not so black and white. And I really like that.
But for the Octavi, one of the
Yeah.
characters makes a point at some point to say, look, these people are all complicit. They
Hmm.
have they have willingly given up
Yeah.
what part of their will in order to create this empire. So if they get killed, they're not victims. These are
Yeah.
people participating in the system. And I'm like, oh my God, is that right? Is that wrong? I don't know. Oh, there's a moral dilemma. And
Yeah.
that I just love because it's like this is not
Yes.
black and white. This is fun. Okay, we're gonna play in some gray a little bit. And he doesn't
Yeah.
get lost in it, right? He
Mm.
never falls into the wallow pool of
No.
morality and just bathe in it for a while or make you feel mixed the entire way. It's there
Yeah.
in the background, and we're going to move ahead with the plot and the story and the characters. And the fact that it's there and he doesn't overplay that hand, I think, is wonderful.
Yes, yeah, and that's something I'll agree with. I really like how he implemented that because a lot of these tabs are those moral kind of moments or conundrums.
Yeah,
That's a lot of them because those were the fascinating parts, and some of them are like tabbed on the same page to mark out like paragraphs worth of discussion.
yeah,
And then I think for me, what would have been a little bit nicer in terms of the introduction of that conflict through Viz's POV
sure,
was we're kind of dragged along on a string about Viz's past, and then all of a sudden it's randomly explained.
yeah.
Maybe it's not random, but it's very much just all of a sudden explained after all that suspense and waiting. To me, that was just like, okay, well, I was honestly a little confused for that for part one and like his actual role and past and why it would be so much of an issue until we
Sure.
actually got more description later. Um, I think I might have appreciated part 1 a little bit more, knowing at least a little bit of where he came from, and that
Too
could
much
just be
mystery.
me. It was a bit too much,
He didn't
too
give you because it was character related.
Mhm.
He didn't give you enough for the main character for
Yeah.
you to hook into.
Like, I knew he was trying to hide for some reason, but not knowing the reason reduced the, anticipation, I guess, for me is what it was, and the risk.
Wrong place to do a slow burn
Yeah,
on the main
probably.
character's backstory.
Yeah, and for those watching, again, I'm character driven. So for me,
Yeah.
that's, it lost a little investment for me there. And it felt more plot driven as a result. Which isn't necessarily bad. It's just my preference. Now
No,
Terry,
but if it keeps you well, different things affect different people in different ways. But I think as a character reader, and I think he's trying to bridge the gap. There's a lot of plot going on here, but I also feel he's not doing inside emotions on this guy very much. But he's at least trying to bring you along. And there's a little bit of Darrow cloning going on because, the animated armor scene. Okay, here's another cool idea that's a variation on, I've seen this 100 times, but no, I'm going to strap these things onto my body, and now I control this remote robot fighting thing. And okay, that's different enough for me to go, oh. And then I made a point that I completely forgot that I was trying to make.
It like subverting the expectations, I think, is what you were trying to.
That was subverting the expectations, but what were you just talking about?
Just the lack of information regarding Viz's reasons to hide and motivation.
And I went off on a tangent, and then I talked about the things. Whatever. We'll get back to it at some point. But I've derailed myself. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
I went sideways and made a point.
I'm just looking up. Terry mentioned here that the original prologue included what happened with his family. He ended up cutting that. That prologue was included at the end, is what Terry is saying there. So that's probably where
jump that happens there.
I don't even have that at the end of my book. So, and I looked at the beginning.
Not at the end of mine either. I thought, I thought he did a really good job of piecing all that together. Man, sorry.
That's okay. You'll remember it, and then we can dig back in.
Eventually I'll get there. The will of the many that killed your family.
Yeah, so Terry's saying in part 2, there's a quote, "The decision that may have been made by the few, Diago, but it is the will of the many that killed your family." Yeah, fits with what you were saying. Were we talking about the moral conundrums? Is that what it was? The ethical conundrum of taking no action is still
conundrum, and the ethical conundrums. I think I just got off on a tangent about the armor because I wanted to make sure that I mentioned that the armor was really cool.
Don't worry, we'll come back to that.
We'll come back to it. Yeah, let's finish up Act 1 and we'll see what happens.
Yes.
The thing I want to ask you about is, we've got your sappers and you've got your kid, and then he gets adopted, and we see the orphanage that he came from, and he's taken on a thing, and they go into and then we have this. At the beginning, I'm thinking, the rebel attack, and the rebels are the good guys, and they're all, and then I got this thing with the rebels. Oh, he's going to meet the rebels when he gets to the city, and then we go and we introduce the school, and then we go on, we introduce the family, and then we finally have something really interesting happen. Like he's introducing the maze, he's introducing all of these characters. It's just
training scenes.
God bless him for trying to cram all that into whatever he did at 150, 200 pages. But then we get to the end of Act 1. Do you have any feelings about the end of Act 1?
Oh my God, the Pneumakia, right? I overall, I actually liked it. I think it set up the stage really well for just heightening the stakes of what's actually going on behind the scenes, because Viz has no idea. He's kind of just pulled into the middle of something, and he makes a choice before the Pneumakia because he's pulled into like the sewer system and really, whoever is there, and he meets
we can do spoilers. It's Reliquia, by the way. Let's talk about that little change.
Yeah. So yeah, he ends up talking with Melior, who, for me, I was actually surprised that character was someone he knew from his hometown in Sus. And he outright declined him in fighting. And I really like that he does take the moral stance, because taking the path of hatred is a lot easier in that kind of circumstance. So it does make the story far more interesting. At least it does for me. And then the actual events of the Pneumakia, first of all, great visuals while reading. That was a pretty epic scene.
I think everybody I've talked to has mentioned pink human slurry as being one of the visuals that they.
I was talking about the 2 ships and like the Colosseum, but cool.
Sorry.
Pink slurry too. But yeah, we get these like 2 ships full of what the hierarchy deems as criminals, traitors, what have you, and they get to duke it out on these 2 ships in a coliseum that they fill with water.
Which actually happened. That was an actual thing they did in the Coliseum once.
That is insane. And I have so many questions now, but very cool visual and a very cool setting for a grand milestone in the story. I think what kind of it was interesting for me because Viz goes back, right? He helps Aqua escape, takes her out of the sewers, you know, goes back to try and talk some sense into Melior. And I think it could either be done really well or it could just be me nitpicking. Um, but he doesn't actually kill Melior. Melior kills himself with Viz's hand, and the stylus that he has. Now that is smart in a way because it maintains Viz's innocence, if you will, right?
Yes.
It does maintain that
For
like
us as
moral
the
high
reader.
ground
Yeah.
kind of thing within the character's overall arc at, throughout the story. But I think it's also a little deceptive because it's so quick,
Oh yeah.
right? Because I know you and I were talking, and I don't think you realized in our conversation you were like, wait, because I think when we were talking you were like, no, he killed him. I'm like, no, he didn't. Technically, he did
Technically,
not.
he didn't.
Technically, he didn't, and I think
And
it's
at the
sneaky in a
time,
way and done well. Sorry, go ahead.
I genuinely felt like that was, you know, an author's head fake, right?
Yeah.
I need to protect my main character from being a murderer. So we will have this moment, and I will, at the last moment, I will just have the guy do it himself. That way I get my guy morally off the hook and I don't have to worry about the readers. After reading the conclusion, I have an entirely different perspective.
Ooh, okay. Do you wanna just
Well, okay. So I thought this is utter crap that this guy would just kill himself, and this was the end of his big plan, was to throw the entire thing into chaos and then kill himself. But
kill some folks and then
yeah,
down himself?
but coming to the end, um, I honestly feel like, hey, we don't just have one life, we've got 3, and there are 3 of us, and that's what the whole pyramid triangle is all about. Those are the 3 worlds,
Mm.
and you're dead in one. Hey, welcome, Sarah Beth. You're just in time for the biggest spoiler of the entire book.
If you are not ready for spoilers,
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Right? And so, but to me, that's what the end of the book is. Like, whoa, 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 whoa. And I may be wrong. I'm more than happy to be wrong. But what I'm getting out of the end of the book is that there are 3 different worlds, and you are a person in each of them. And maybe these all affect each other in different ways. And being dead in one doesn't make you dead in the other. Missing an arm in one doesn't make you missing an arm in the other. And you can move back and forth between them. Well, welcome in, Sarah Beth.
Yeah. No, she says she's good. She's read it and the ending 3 times. Yeah,
Have you read the second book? Can you tell us anything?
Hints, please. See, I have questions about that theory then.
Yeah, I
In the way
totally.
because
Last night. It's like
yeah.
1 in the morning, and I'm like, what does it mean?
So my question comes down to, does everyone naturally have a copy, or do they have to go through, because they have to pay the toll,
Yeah.
right? They have to go through the labyrinth and pay the toll. And my assumption, my understanding is that they need to pay that toll in order to be copied. So we don't know if
That
Melior
sounds
paid that
right.
toll.
And maybe Melchior did that. He had the scarring. None of us get out of this without scars.
Yeah.
So now anytime he introduces somebody with a scar, I'm going to like, he has a copy.
Yeah. And like, could this be, and it also gave Viz abilities, right? Could this also have been the case for Melior? I have the same question about Lannistia.
Right.
right?
And Lanastia leads me to the whole question about Belly. It's like
Yeah.
Belly freaking dead. She's freaking dead in the middle of the maze. It's like maybe you liked her, maybe you didn't, but she was a friend and she was a companion and she's dead.
Yeah. And in the most brutal way.
We're skipping the whole act 2. We're just going.
Sorry. I had a plan, I swear. I have notes.
God bless it. We'll stick to the plan. But
No, it's fine.
That's the idea, is that you have to earn it.
Yes. Yeah, you have to pay the toll. You have to sacrifice something. Let's see. Terry says, I didn't quite expound on the ending quite that far. It's still so vague. It is. It's so hard to say. And these are all theories. Yeah, and it does make you think. Yeah. Sorry, Beth. Sorry, Sarah Beth. But it's worth rereading. We only finished it recently, and I'm already going to be rereading the ending again.
I'm going to say it's worth rereading Act 3. I feel like there's a lot of throwaway stuff in Act 2. I feel like you could trim 120 pages out of this thing and not miss anything. Oh, that was the thing I was going to say, is that right at the end, he starts jamming in, okay, we're gonna level up a school. We're gonna level up a school. We're gonna level up a school. And he did, okay, we're gonna do it with the knight. Okay, we're gonna do it with the chess game. Okay, we're gonna do it. And it comes too quick and it comes too easy. And that comes back to what Andrew was saying about Gary Stu. But the idea of some of them were just dumb. I loved the thing with the knight because it was interesting and different. The chess game, give me a break. You are not having 200 students at a school all coming around to watch a chess game. Are you kidding me? There's either it should have been Magically Will, a version of chess game that was bigger and grander and more interesting. And I feel like he probably just didn't feel like he had time to explain it. So he's just going to do a straight chess game. I just didn't believe any of that. I didn't believe that he was better than her. I didn't believe that all these people would be watching. I thought, you know what, you're just making an excuse to get me up a level. And it's too late in the book to do that, right? You need to be having stakes to everything at this point. You should have flipped it. You should have had the chess game be first, then have the knight thing be second, because that way the chess game could have been lower impact and gotten you through that. Sorry, I'll shut up.
No, that's all fair.
That's what I was trying to get to.
What I kind of thought was a little funny and ironic was it was all based on a bet as well.
Yeah.
Right. And we've already been explained that these kids love betting and gambling. That's like their pastime, right?
Rich kids with nothing to lose.
But the preceptors being in on it was kind of like, all right, well, clearly there's no sense of morality on, and but
I did like the evil teacher who just hated him no matter what. He had like a 3 or 4 syllable name that I can't remember, but I loved that teacher being there. He was like just the guy that's going to stand in your way no matter what. I loved it.
Yeah, level 7, I think that was.
Yeah.
Or 7th, whatever we're calling it. But yeah.
Kobold I can't remember.
Sounds right. No, I think those kind of roadblocks were really well done in that regard, like forceful, being stuck, teacher just hates him because he was adopted by this one guy, and this one guy clearly holds a grudge against the school. But I was expecting a little bit more roadblock from the Principalis.
I still don't get him. I don't know what Dumbledore's up to. Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? Is he a medium?
Yeah.
Because there's not a lot of good guy, bad guy. There's a lot of agenda.
There's a lot of agendas. There's a lot of motives. Now, I will say,
being good or bad necessarily.
And I think that comes back to the moral conundrums that we're being presented, right? Like we don't know who's good or bad because not even the world can define it. Nope. And it makes it a little bit difficult in that regard. Obviously, mass murder is not something is good, but their definitions of morality and means justifying the cause is very grand in that regard. Alquiscore, though, I will say, at first I was thinking, okay, maybe he will be a lending hand, maybe he will be supportive. Very much not the case.
And I believe that all the way up until Act 3. Right?
Oh, did you?
All the way to up to Act 3, I thought, okay, Alquiscore's in his corner. Him and Lucia, whatever her name is.
Lanastia.
Lannistia, they're with him. They have this at least the same objective for right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was just like in Act 3, it's like, you know what? I'll just kill you if you don't do this.
Yeah. I'm a little torn on that because now Ulquiskor feels like the victim. It flips everything, right? It feels like Ulquiskor is kind of like the villain-esque, biggest threat anyway to Viz at the moment.
At the moment, yeah. Certainly more than anybody at the school.
Yeah.
And not to, I do want to.
Yeah.
I know I'll forget about it. So just to have the murder victim whose murder we are investigating the entire book, that is the main through line of the plot, be like, hi, how you doing? At the end, it's just like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. It raises so many questions. And then, yeah, you're like, okay, well, where is this going to go? I do agree with the part 2 aspect in terms of leveling up at the academy. I think for me, the academy portions were a bit of a slog. The leveling up perspective, for me, it was a repetitive pattern of Ulquiskor threatens him, he levels up. Ulquiskor threatens him, he levels up. And so on and so forth. So for me, it became a bit of an untouchable character in the sense that he's always going to succeed to a certain degree.
Yes.
He felt safe.
Okay. Yes. This was my big problem. This is why I went down during Act 2, is because I was never once concerned. It didn't feel like there were any failures.
Yeah.
I didn't really remember a time when he did a tri-fail.
Yeah.
Which is jaw-dropping to me, because this is world-class storytelling he's got going on. I really honestly believe that.
Yeah.
But to have a character that never does a tri-fail is, wait, what? It's weird. And so I was with you in that during Act 2, it became, how is he going to succeed? Not, is he going to succeed? And that took me out of it a lot.
Yeah. And so we have Sarah Beth saying agreed in that regard. And then Terry here saying, I took part 2 as almost an aside that was allowing us to learn more about the old hidden technology. I agree. And about the world too, because he ends up traveling back to his home island.
I love that, by the way. I loved going home. I didn't understand a word of it, but I love.
You're just here for the ride, Andy.
Always. But the whole going home and all, that was the first time I got inside his heart, right? I had been inside his head. I had been following him along on his journey, but he had never been an open wound to me before. And I need that. And that was, going home was painful emotionally for him the whole time he was there. And that was when I finally locked into him as a character. It was way too late.
Yeah.
But that was the moment where I was like, okay, I'm with you now, bud.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll agree to that. I think that point was like, okay, I'm now invested in Viz and his character and the plight of his people, because he also gets a bit of a balm to his heart in a way in the conversation he has with Federica. And the bartender he ends up having a meal from at the end of his trip at Sus. So those kind of interactions, I think, it helped lend a bit of a healing aspect to his overall journey up to this point and the traumas he's experienced. But it also gave him a clear direction forward in terms of his own motivations and what to do next, and doing it his way, not everyone else's way, because he has been, for the better part, pulled by different people throughout the story, although that didn't quite land for me because he was such a safe character. So
I want to add on to that real quick. There is a moment when they're at home in the Isle of Dr. Seuss, where it was the only way I could remember his island, where he's distant from them. He's constantly emotionally barraged, so he can't really pretend to be involved and participating with them. And then she goes in swimming to the riptide, and she gets pulled out. He goes in and gets her and brings her back in. And there's a moment where he's talking about his sister, and playing with his
Mm,
sister and having that be his
yeah.
memory on the beach. And there suddenly becomes a moment where it shifts where like that's not his only memory of that beach now.
Yeah.
Going out and rescuing her makes that part of the memory of the beach, which then also opens up the memory of just playing with his sister on the beach, just
Yeah.
being with her. And that kind of opens him up to be more of a participant in what's going on emotionally with the people that are they're there now.
Yeah.
And it's a little tiny moment, but for me, like on a storytelling character emotional perspective, that was like the egg cracking. I
Yeah.
absolutely loved that, and I thought there was emotional truth that was built into that. And he did such a good job in just letting that moment. You don't need to go out into the riptide and save her. It doesn't make the plot any better. It doesn't move anything forward. It helps, I crystallize and refine and strengthen the relationship he's got with the other students, but it doesn't need to be in there. And I love that he took a moment near the end of Act Two, call it the
Mm.
65% mark, and said, "Hey, we're just going to do a little bit of emotional work here." And
Mhm.
I thought that really tied me into the rest of the thing.
Yeah.
I got virtually nothing, sorry, out of the Francisqua, whatever his name was, the old servant, who,
Oh, Fadrique.
Fabrique. I have
Yeah.
no idea how to spell it, but in my head, it's Fabrique.
That's
Um,
actually pretty accurate.
really?
Yeah, Fadrique.
Fabrique. It sounds like you should be making eggs in Russia with jewels. But he I didn't really get anything out of the old servant going, "Oh, I'm still with you in the royal family,
Mm.
my bud." But having those moments in there grounded everything emotionally for me for
Mm.
him. And I thought that was great, which brings, and the reason I wanted to grab onto this Jungle Gym bar real quick is to talk about, I love a good wolf. I love a good wolf. Give me a dog that's going to rip up the enemy anytime. I have a real problem with this wolf, the way it was introduced, how it came about, the fact that it's on a different island, and the fact that it comes back later. It has to be somebody kind of helping him, but
Yeah.
me justifying how that happens, he runs into the wolf in the wild, and he saves the wolf, and then all of a sudden, a couple of months later, the wolf shows up in the other side of the world and is there to help him. I have real problems with that
Yeah.
overall in general, and I wish I didn't, because
Yeah.
I want that to work really well. And I'm like, what? What? I know
It
you wanted
just
to give him help at this moment, but it feels like you shoehorned it in while we were in Sus anyway.
yeah.
Yeah, Terry's like, I think we have to learn more about the wolf.
Yeah.
Right? The wolf has to be part of somebody else's
Yeah.
plan, although I don't know how that works. But at the same time, I didn't know how this guy killing himself at the end of the mass murdering everybody
Right.
at the end of Act One could possibly work out where this was a plan where he's going to put Viz in position. Really, really, really? I don't think so. But given what we found out at the end of the book, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, wait a second, yeah, maybe, because there's not just one me. Maybe there's another me waiting, and so.
And yeah, I'll agree with you on the wolf thing. That didn't work for me. It
And
I
I want it to so badly.
So partly the reason it didn't work for me is it kind of took away from smaller slice of life moments,
Mm.
right? We might have moments in life, yes, where we save an animal, but that doesn't always mean they're going to come back and save us. That's not how the world works.
Well,
But
and it was a
still,
shoehorn anyway because it was so completely out of place. The chapter didn't belong with anything else, and it couldn't be a throwaway. There's no
yeah.
way you would stop down for 3,000 words to tell this story real quick. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay. Sarah Beth says I was willing to go along with the flow on the wolf. They have a bond. Yeah, yeah, and that's fair. I think for me, where it lost it is up to this point. This author does have a few telltale, um, repetitive habits in their storytelling where when a character is introduced, oftentimes you will see them again either as a helper or a hindrance.
Mhm.
There's very much a repetitive nature in that regard. When it comes to Iden, for example, I actually liked what he did with Iden because I thought it was gonna go the opposite direction, because his first, like, half hour in this school, he gets into a punch-out with Iden and almost gets expelled his first
And
day.
Iden should be the bully,
And
right?
Iden
You
should be
should
the
establish
bully,
your bully. There's your bully for the school.
and he's
There's
not.
your Draco.
And he's not, which I appreciated that twist on it, but from there on out, every character he more or less interacted with for more than a page was someone who was repetitively coming back to assist or hinder, more often assist. And so the wolf for me fell flat because at that point I was like, of course the wolf will come back.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Because he was
When
introduced.
they're introducing it, when he's introducing it, it's like, okay. So the wolf is
Yeah.
gonna come back and save him, like you say, the wolf. Okay.
Yeah. So for me, that part didn't land. I'm curious to see if it does continue in the future. I appreciate that the wolf,
Oh, he's got
was
his animal companion. Here we go.
yeah. So we'll see. I am really curious. I do think that part two just fell flat for that repetitive pattern. For me, part three definitely picked it up quite a lot in terms of that mystery. We don't know motivations between Alkeyscore because Alkeyscore had that military meeting. And can we just talk about, actually, for a second, Relukia?
Yeah, please.
Because that
She's my
military
favorite.
meeting, they're somehow in league with one another but don't know it. It's just the weirdest marriage I've ever seen.
What
Um,
is happening?
so the shock reveal of Rilukia's identity, having originally met her from the Anguis and then finding out she is actually Viz's adoptive mother, that landed. That was like shock. That was questions everywhere. Um, but to find out she was
She
just
shot him, didn't she?
but to find out that Relukia is basically as cutthroat as Alkeyscore kind of makes sense.
More so. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, the fact that they know that they're working together? That's my big question.
How dare you not answer that question quickly? Because you have right. Because my
She's sent
expectation
him to
is,
spy.
okay, we have the evil empire and we are
Mhm.
going to stop the evil empire. And the rebels are here to help us. And we're going to join with the rebels and we're going to meet them at the thing. And we're going to join together with the rebels. And and this is the girl you're going to fall in love with because she's the leader of the rebels. Of course, this is the girl you're going to
Yes.
fall in love with. Oh, no, she's your mom.
It's probably the oddest sequence of events.
Jack up. And
Yeah.
okay, let's take a second to give a round of applause to Mr. James Islington, Oolington, that again and again and
Yeah.
again and again, he takes your expectations and turns them on their head.
Yes.
He knows what you're thinking is going to happen. And he goes,
Mhm.
hey, take a look at this bait over here. Going.
Yep.
We're going to take
Yeah.
you to the deep end of the pool.
Yeah, and I think too, it raises a lot of questions because whether or not they do know, the other, and Terry, I'm leaning to agree with you on this, is that they don't know,
He
but
doesn't know.
they also have completely different motives,
Yeah.
right? Military, I imagine they want to be in place of religion, in order to do whatever, be in power. That's the extent of the knowledge we have, basically. Relokia is a part of the resistance, which wants to tear down the hierarchy. I imagine Alkeyscore wants to build it up, but from military influence. Very different. It's a marriage that can't work, clearly. Keep your enemies closer, very much so.
That's why she's gone
Um,
all the time.
and she's gone all the time, yeah. Um, but it's definitely it adds to a whole other layer of the conflict between the hierarchy, people inside trying to tear it down. We don't know who we can trust, even within the school. We don't know who we can trust, because their parents all have different motivations, and of course, the kids are going to be influenced by their parents
Yeah.
in terms of the actions and the choices that they make and the expectations they need to follow. Which I appreciated Calidus's character as a result of that, because he knew what was coming, and he purposely put himself in the lowest rank so he could at least live. I
Dude
mean,
was smart.
Yeah.
And in a book full of getting punched in the face over and over again by having your expectations blown up,
Yeah.
Calidus has to be the A number one.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah. I really liked Calidus's character. He subverted a lot of tropes in the end for me that I really appreciated. But he was also one of the key characters to talk about that moral dilemma, even within the school. And what comes after the people after the fact, when they grow up to adults and they become senators or what have you in this world of ranks. And yeah, Terry, I agree. I'm really curious to see what Alkeyscore's ultimate goal is. He knows something's up with that island, and there's a certain power there, and I think he wants it.
Yeah, what this island is. Well, and for Islington to have the brass balls as a storyteller to build your best friend, right, in the school as the person that you trust, the person that you can confide in, and taking Calidus and getting him to the end and then cacking him so that's a gut punch that, like, because I was not expecting this. The way things are supposed to go is I'm supposed to take my two best friends from school and my other two best friends, one or two of which I may be romantically involved with, and that we are going to join together, and Calidus is going to be my number two, and we are going to be best friends forever, and he's dead. What? What did you just do? That is stone cold storytelling right there. That is awesome.
And the brutal walk back. And how he laid him down at the Prince of Palace's feet. Brutal.
Brutal.
Yeah.
And it gives the rest of the trilogy a motivation that we experienced, not the parents, not the past, something that we were there for, avenging his death. And for him to choose going into the census and not refusing all, I think it's him refusing all three points of the triangle between military, religious, and common good.
Well, he was going to flee, right? He had his choice to flee potentially and leave and get away. And then the Prince of Palace offered him, well, your blood is tainted, whatever that means at this point. Your blood is tainted and we can keep you safe.
You're missing an arm.
Religion. You're missing an arm. Choose religion will keep you safe, even from Alkeyscore. Right? And he's like, no, I don't trust anybody at this point. The one person I trust is my friend's father, who has access to all this data.
I think.
Right? We haven't met him. So
I got a whole new mentor coming in for the second book.
Yeah.
With motivation, with revenge motivation for somebody that I, as a reader, grew emotionally attached to. That is killer.
Yes.
Me gusta. So I just thought, from a storytelling perspective, having the brass balls to kill off your number two at the end of the first book is phenomenal.
I also appreciate that he didn't actually take both of his best friends. Iden declined him because he said, no, you cannot trust me.
Right.
That was his reason, right? He was going to take Iden with him, and Iden had that conversation with the Prince of Palace, and he came back and he said, I can't do it. You can't trust me. You can't trust me.
Which makes me trust you.
Yeah, which then we end up getting Aqua on the team. And for a moment, we think she's, we're going to betray them, and she comes back.
Oh, yeah.
And helps them. Yeah, we think.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah, we think she's gone.
I didn't like her, right? She was the kind of spoiled kid of the rich guy in the Act 1, and then I honestly lost track of her in Act 2. And then at the end, the whole Act 3, where they go, okay, we're going to play full on, war games. We're going to do our Red Rising war games thing at the end here. And from Jump Street, she was
Mm-hmm.
in it and passionate and ready. And it was like, okay, I like you. And then
Yeah.
more and more and more and more and more. And then she proves herself beyond any question, beyond that, gives him his token back. It's just like, okay, cool, good. We got it.
Yeah. We're good. We're good. We can trust this one. And then that leads me, yeah, Terry loved Iden for that as well. Just before I move on to the next point, Iden's history.
Keep going.
We learn after being dangled on this string for a while,
Mhm.
we learn, and he reveals to Viz that he was actually in a sapper for a year prior
Yes.
to being in the school as a choice of his father
His father.
to save their
In trying
people.
to protect their people somehow? Because they were
So
the
this
mountain people and they were unassailable, and then it fell apart and he had to sacrifice his son?
And he made a deal. He put himself in a position of power within the hierarchy, sacrificed his son for a year as collateral, I assume,
Self-defense.
right?
That's what it was.
And this is where it comes back to the conversation for me with Fadrique, because Fadrique said it was either I let them kill me or I do as they please to at least, and I'm not beloved for it by our people, but
No,
take this role, use will,
because it's the
uh,
only way I could help.
that it's the only way I could help our people to the best of our ability. Otherwise, they would have just put someone without the island's best interest in place of me. And so that's where now I have so many questions about Iden's father, his and Iden's experience in the sapper, right? I, and the fact that he can maintain a level of integrity and intelligence after being in a sapper for a year is just crazy to me.
Right.
Um,
How do you recover from that?
But the silent type of character, the stoic type of character that he is, makes so much more sense knowing that.
Mhm.
Um, he keeps a lot close to his heart. I would too if my father put me in a sapper. Um, like I wouldn't be trusting every, Tom, Dick, and Sally that came around. Yeah, there's so much more to Iden's character that we need to learn. I really liked Iden's character, the more I learned. And to find out that so I'm also remembering too, they also did that because he killed how many of their people? 13, something like that? Or
Yeah,
3? 3 or 13, I can't remember, but it was one of their, like, high, will users. And so his father's like, "Well, we'll just put that one in a sapper for a year.
yeah.
They could give me some status things." Which I imagine, has its own depth to it, with those characters. We haven't met them, right? But,
Right.
yeah, I wanna know more about Iden's history and his motivations because we can trust him with Fizz. We can trust him, but I wanna know what his motivations are within the Empire because he also doesn't have a love for the hierarchy either.
To to I liked him from the moment we got past the "this is going to be my bully" idea. I thought he
Mm,
was a really interesting character, mainly because, okay, I'm taking my Draco and making him into almost an ally.
yeah,
And it takes time, and it's very, um, it reminds Will. The name of the guy is Will in King Killer Chronicles. Is this very gruff, bearded,
right,
guy, emotionally unavailable, and you're not going to find out any hidden depths from him.
right.
And that's who he reminded me of. And that, again, the relationship between the 3 boys at the school reminded me very much of that. So that made me buy into him faster. But the fact that this is good storytelling, the fact that he refused to become emotionally available, tell anything about his history, and just remained the kind of stone-faced, "Oh, this is
Mhm.
what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do," throughout, gives you this great kind of mirror to look into where you can't see past what your own projection is onto him. And so he makes for one of those great characters. And the fact, again, I thought, okay, moving forward, we're going to have maybe a group of 5. We're going to have the 2 boys and the 2 girls, and those are going to be the ones that we trust. Okay, we've eliminated one of the guys, and so we've only got one boyfriend left, and it's this guy, and this guy is fascinating. And there's so many depths waiting to be plumbed there that it makes me look forward more to the second book, finding out more. Again, what he did, damn it. The more we talk about this book, the more I like it. I think this really, really benefits by discussion, because once you start to enumerate the hidden depths going on here and the number of mysteries that are going on, I mean, we haven't even talked about her stabbing him in the gut yet.
That was going to be my next point. I derailed for Iden.
Yeah,
but
it's worth derailing for. There's so many. Again, you've got 12 characters that are interesting, fascinating, worth investing in, and you don't understand what they're doing for the most part. It's all a bunch of question marks.
Yeah, there's so many questions, and I'm going to catch up on the chat here because we've got a few comments in that topic. So Terry's saying, I liked that it was Iden who brought up the point to Viz about the fact that the majority of people who are ceding to the hierarchy do so believing that they will have a chance to advance.
And the discussion on greed, right?
Discussions on greed.
That there's like 3-4 paragraphs right after that where he's
they're in there
about greed, and you're
one of these.
and realizing how true that is.
Yeah.
And how, because Madison made a good point about safety, right? Kind of federation thing. I'm willing to give up part of myself so that I can have food and I can have shelter and I can have, okay, yeah, I get that. But the point gets driven home with the opportunity to advance. Like what, who was it that said that? Terry's brilliant.
Yes. So Sarah Beth is also saying they were wondering how they were going to do this in a trilogy. Google is telling me the first arc is planned 5 books. So this to me sounds very similar to Christopher Ruccio's Sun Eater series in that sense, right? You know, you've got this long planned series. Each book is 600 to 700 pages. You've got this like empire destruction and story behind it all. The structure, at least in that regard, definitely makes me think of that. Being stabbed in the gut.
Being stabbed in the gut.
And it's, let's talk about Amicia's character. Where's Madison when we need her?
Yeah, right. She'll be able to, she'll remember.
So we have this don't trust the love interest trope. And again, it's
which he's told not to do. I mean, old Keyscore tells him again and again and again, do not.
Do not. And he actually scolds him for saving her.
Yeah.
Because he's like, you just killed your chance of moving up to the level you need to be at by doing that. And he did. He could have just let her drown and he would have moved up in rank. But I like that is subverted.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because she ends up tutoring him to help him be the best that he can be in the class. I do appreciate that. But yeah, we have a little bit of love interest betrayal going on.
A little bit of stabbing in the gut.
Yep. And what's the worst thing you can do to a teenager? Tell them not to date someone.
Oh yes, guaranteed. Anytime I want my son to date somebody, I'm going to tell him not to.
Yeah. Yeah. So Keyscore either is helpful or not in that regard.
Well, and again, it comes back to good and evil doesn't play into it. It's agenda.
It's agenda. And everyone's got a different one.
And everybody's got to do, and it takes a while to get out of the classic good and evil, which I like.
Yeah.
Because it helps me for storytelling. It provides a moral center to the universe. This is a good thing. Yeah. But he just keeps reminding me again and again that this is not good evil. This is agenda. And an example where old Keyscore is telling him the right thing. Don't trust her.
Don't do it.
Perhaps you might get stabbed.
Just perhaps. Just perhaps you might get betrayed at the last second. Yeah. And it's done in a really interesting way, right? Because the Prince of Palace later on explains, like, she's here. She thought something else, right? She saw his arm, because that's what it is. She saw his injured arm, and assumed that he was already dead. And that was her reason.
Which is what you want out of a girlfriend, right? If you're probably going to die, you want her to finish you off as quickly as possible.
What era are you living in? Oh my gosh. That's what you want.
I told my wife when we got married, look, if I'm ever like bleeding at all, or if I have like any kind of infection, just kill me, right? Because that's really gonna help a lot. I appreciate that.
Don't take the arm and save the rest of me. Don't bother saving me by taking the
Don't send me to a
arm.
hospital. Just stab me in the gut.
No, stab me in the gut. Take your chance to be Darmatur. Have the life you always wanted. It raises so many questions, though, that does she have an agenda with religion?
Yes.
And is that how she knows about, what was his name, Iroh's choice in changing to religion, not following his father's footsteps in military? Because Iroh confirms, how did you find that out? Well, how did Amisa find that out?
Right.
At one point.
So I didn't follow Hyro at all, by the way. Hyro was there as a quadriary character. There's some other guy as a name that showed up every once in a while. That's it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Well, you're better at keeping track than I am.
I had to host a conversation, Andy. I had to pay attention as best as I could. We have Eric here with us. Good to see you, Eric. Eric is saying, while there is an implied political and social agenda, I cannot help but wonder if there are some more surprises ahead that are deeper. I'm willing to bet there are.
There's no way there aren't.
Yeah,
I mean, look at how many questions he packed into the first book. He's planned 5 more.
Yeah.
We are at layer 1 of the onion.
Yeah, and we still haven't gotten to the question of the tainted blood. Because he was tested early on. And the guy held up the pictures, and he's like, do you recognize this? And he knew right from the beginning that Viz's blood was tainted. And we don't know what that means, just that it's tainted, and the hierarchy can find out really easy if they really want to. But he's Catanicus, so no one dinks around with Catanicus, hopefully. But yeah, we have the question of the tainted blood. What does that mean? And obviously it's probably related to the copying of said self to a degree, and worlds, and
the pyramid is everything.
My question is, I'm trying to remember timeline. If someone remembers this, please tell me. He went to the labyrinth, or the vault before the labyrinth, before he was tested for his blood, right? So he did his first little scrounge.
Yeah.
He investigated something, and he saw the eyeless people. And then he was tested for his blood, right? I'm remembering that timeline correctly.
I think
someone correct me if I'm wrong. So just entering that space would have tainted his blood, is my understanding. Not necessarily copying himself, but just walking in there would have done it.
Yeah. Wow.
Which is probably why the people who go through the Lycidium, the final
Lycanium.
Yeah, at the end, in part 3, the big challenge at the end, they probably make a deal with religion. Religion will keep you safe, prevent you from being tested for your blood and recognizing by the people we don't want you to be caught by that you were in this labyrinth. Right? Yeah. Religion probably makes them because religion is untouchable, as far as I'm understanding. Right? They're able to keep people safe, is my understanding. So that's probably why he offered Viz sanctuary, basically, is another way to look at it.
We can protect you from military.
We can protect you from military. We can protect you from the rest of the hierarchy, because all it takes is one blood test.
Yeah. I am so happy that we decided to do this.
Yeah.
I'm just happy to have an excuse to talk with you. I'm happy to have
Likewise.
like a shared experience with people in reading the thing. But this conversation has jacked up this book in my estimation. I mean, it's easily a 9 now because there are so many pieces. Once you start racking them up,
Yeah.
so many questions that he's layered into this thing. And I'm pretty interested in the answers to all of them.
Yeah. So the blood testing thing, Terry, my understanding is that
I'm with Terry. I'm with Terry.
my understanding is as soon as you step into the room, even before the labyrinth, but that room with like the eyeless people, and it like spouts out the whole spiel about obitium and res and stuff like that. Your blood is altered. And religion doesn't intend people to go into those labyrinths until the big challenge at the end of their year, because then they can make a deal to protect them if that's the case, whether or not the kids know it. That's my understanding. But Viz kind of went around the system and went in anyway. And now he's kind of marked by the rest of the hierarchy as someone who went through that process, but he's not protected by religion.
And he's unaligned.
And he's unaligned.
I mean, he's basically going to census, he is neutral. My understanding. I don't think census is. He picked the fourth option.
He did, and he's a risk to religion now because religion has obviously been hiding this from the rest of the hierarchy, and for what motivations we don't know. But now he is a risk of leaking that information. So yeah, I love breaking all this down and chatting about it because there's so many strengths to it. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like you start to realize once you start stacking them up, it's like, whoa, this is like 89 layers deep. And I need to say, Eric said Calidus, oh my God, do you think he had some knowledge that he was exploring? I think he might have been copied. I got to say, I hope not, because I need Calidus's death to have ripples that last throughout. And if you can do anything, but I feel like if you bring Calidus back, you've crippled that moment. And I feel like that, to me, was one of the best moments, unexpected moments in the first book, by robbing you of something that you loved and thought was safe.
Yeah.
And I would not like to see Calidus brought back, because that would make the kind of sacrifice in vain. But, again, when we got to the end of the first act, I thought there was no way you could make this part of, their plan to have Viz get into the university. So, and I don't even know that that's right, but everything that got revealed at the end makes everything kind of possible.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Yeah, I agree. As much as I loved Calidus's character, I hope he doesn't come back.
No.
At least not in the realm that this Viz is in. Because now we're dealing with multiple
well, yeah, now we're doing, I don't even know what we're doing now. I don't even know what we're doing now.
We have 3 different copies of him. So 3 different worlds, multidimensional is my understanding. And on that note, Terry, my guess at this point, my theory is that Lannistia did go through the labyrinth, did get copied potentially due to the toll she paid, which was her eyes. That's just my theory at this point, my understanding. But she doesn't remember it for some reason. But Viz also doesn't in the world of Res either. He doesn't realize he was copied. He just remembers going in and running for dear Lord life.
I mean, just talk about the idea of weight being inscribed into your arm by this mysterious figure who's trying to help you. Who is you?
Who is you?
What the pluperfect is going on?
To be more correct, more accurate, the dead brother you are investigating the murder of.
Yes.
Stabbing into your arm.
Absolutely. He's helping.
He's helping.
Well, and like little tiny details, and this is so minuscule, but the second word that gets carved into his arm are stuff happens. He doesn't wait for the end. He just goes. He knows it's run. We know it's run. That little piece just beautiful storytelling right there. Loved it,
Yeah.
loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, like last night I was like, okay, I got, an hour. I backed up, so I wound up having an hour and 50 minutes left. And it was pretty late, although I'm used to staying up pretty late. I was 100% in the entire time. And I got done
Yeah.
reading it. I was up for another 45 minutes just thinking about what
Yeah.
I had just experienced. And damn it, Kay, this thing keeps going up because it
Yeah.
was an experience. That was
Mhm.
this was not removed from me in any way by the time we got to the end. I was
Right.
deeply emotionally involved, stressed out, worried,
Yeah.
confused, all kinds of crazy stuff going on in my heart, not just my head. And
Yeah.
when I was reading most of this book, I thought, okay, this is a good intellectual exercise, but
Mm.
it's missing the emotional punch that I
Yeah.
would like in order to get me to where I'm going to love a book.
Yeah.
And the more I'm thinking about it, he does a good job of waiting for the
Mhm.
emotional until he's already got you with the plot and the characters, and then he sneaks
Mm.
in.
Yeah.
And that's artistry right there.
So what you're saying is we're doing a buddy read for book 2.
I guess so.
Get your pre-orders in, folks.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
so. Yeah, do you feel the same way? Do you feel more interested in this book because of this conversation?
I do think it helps me see more of the strengths. I do think my overall experience, though, when I look back on my own individual experience reading this, I was taken out of that immersion multiple times. So I think overall, the reading experience itself could have been stronger without those aspects that we talked about pulling me out of the immersion.
Yeah.
That I was developing. Because to me, that just takes away from the overall investment and experience, and then the inevitable payoffs.
Yeah.
I think at this point, I do agree with your initial question or your initial comment earlier, which is this could have been 100 pages shorter
Yeah.
in
I
part
think that's
two.
fantasy in general.
Yeah, I think it could have been trimmed or dealt with in different ways,
Sure.
because part two was definitely a bit of a slog for me. It was very predictable. It was very safe.
It's safe.
Um,
It was safe.
And I mean, I read stuff where I'm the character-driven reader where I like constant threat over the characters constantly
Hmm.
because it adds to my investment, it adds to my immersion of the story. But when you make them very safe, it's kind of like, okay, well, no matter what happens, these guys are our main character's good, right?
Right.
Or our favorite characters, side characters are good. Um, unless you're Calidus. So, you know, but yeah, I think from this conversation, I would probably lean more to a 4-star just
Yeah.
based on that. But I do think the author has some quirks in his writing that make his choices a bit more predictable, having read it now. My prediction with the overall series is this is going to be similar to many other fantasy series where the rest of the series is really strongly hyped, but book 1 has its flaws. So if you look at the Sun Eater series, for example, strongly hyped, a lot of hype for it, but a lot of the consensus from the discussion that we had from Empire of Silence is that the hype comes from the rest of the series, not just book 1, not book 1.
That's interesting.
So I think this will probably follow in the
Oh my
same
gosh,
pattern.
you're right. Because anytime somebody reads Red Rising and has a meh impression of it, people go, "Oh, wait, they read the other
Yeah.
book."
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
That's always I hate that,
It's the
but
series. It's the
the
overall
series
experience.
is what makes it.
It's
You're
the
right.
rest of the experience. This is ultimately this is set up as it should be. It's book 1. This is set up. It's gonna have some quirk. It's gonna have some flaws. It's not gonna be perfect. People might call it a flawed masterpiece in some ways, because of the way the crazy amount of level to the plot and the secrets and the stories behind the scenes, but it has its flaws,
Yeah.
at the same time. So And yeah, Terry, I'm a slow burn reader too. I love my slow burns, but so I'm glad this one was a good length and feel for you. For me, there was just moments, Eric, if you missed earlier, it was those kind of safe, predictable moments in the academy, where, he needed to level up. He was threatened, leveled up, threatened, leveled up.
Yeah, rinse and repeat.
Things seemed pretty easy, accessible for him. That didn't really feel like a threat. The labyrinths were crazy, but he had so much practice and experience with them that I knew he'd be safe. He'd make it through.
Right. I
You
totally, I
know?
totally dipped out during the chess game. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
never mind. Okay, whatever I thought this book was going to be,
Yeah.
if he's going to do this, I'm not in. And that's one of
Yeah.
those cases where, yeah, you can have a chapter that fails and still
Yeah.
have a book be magnificent. It's
Absolutely.
okay. It's okay.
Absolutely. Eric says here, yes, part one was the setup, world building. Part two felt like welcome to Hogwarts. But part three was wow, yeah, the train jumped onto it. And see, this is where I think it's gonna follow that same pattern of the Sun Eater series, where the rest of the series is gonna be massively hyped, beloved. But book one is just gonna be that it's still gonna be hyped and loved, but not to the same degree as what's to come, right? It's gonna be that little flawed part of it. I
Well,
don't
and
even call it flawed, but it's not gonna land probably as well as the rest of the series will.
people
That's
may
just my
have some
prediction.
question marks when they get to the end of the first book. Why does everybody like this so much? However, I will
Mhm.
say that, I felt that way through most of Act Two, where I thought,
Right.
I'm not really that emotionally invested and I'm not that worried about him. So I feel like we're just kind of filling beats. And
Yeah.
then Act Three changed everything, everything,
Yeah.
like the end of Act One did, where it's just like,
Mhm.
and we're going to blow up the entire stadium. What? Wait, what? Well, what? And
Yeah.
it
Shock
just,
value.
right, took me completely by
Yep.
surprise, which made me dig in enough to be intrigued throughout the second act and going along with it. And even though I felt like it was a little too safe, I'm gonna, finish this book.
Yeah.
And then you hit Act Three, and it's like, well, I'm going to read the second book, and I don't normally feel that way. I am very cool with reading the first book in a series and going, okay, that was all right. I'm not going to
Mhm.
continue. It was okay.
Yeah.
But with this one, I feel like there's more than enough here to say I need to know,
Yeah.
need to go on this journey.
It raises more questions than it answers.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely. And so I think I'd say for me, it's more plot driven as a result of that,
100%.
um, less character driven, because we do get some character moments, but overall, we're here for the mystery. That's what I'm
Yeah,
here for. I'm here for the mystery. I'm here for
it's
the
a big mystery.
unknowns, the high stakes that we're being led up to. And I think kind of what took me out of, because Terry here is saying, I think I got emotionally invested quicker, more like at the end of part one. I think what held me back a lot too was I had just finished Empire Silence by Christopher Recchio, and I was not all that keen on Red Rising. So there was a lot of similarities from the two of them that I had a hard time with separating this story from those two.
Yeah,
And that probably held me back a little bit as well.
yeah. Well,
Yeah,
and they
see,
they they share so much of that common framework. Yeah, look at
yeah,
this. They
uh,
The plot mysteries are absolutely the
yeah,
main motivator. And
yeah,
what the thing is that we get in this debate over plot versus
oh, yeah,
character, and at the end of the day, they need to have both. And
absolutely.
the fact that he finally made me emotionally invest in the character when we got to the island of Dr. Seuss, that made me buy in and be like, oh, okay, there's some depths here, and we
Mhm.
just haven't gotten to them yet because he's busy
Yeah,
taking us through the
yeah,
steps of the plot. Okay, cool. And as long as that's there somewhere, and you know that the author is addressed. And the other thing too about book one versus book two, book three, book four, is the hope is that no matter how good you are, that as a writer, you're constantly getting better. So
mhm,
I will forgive a book one not being, I mean, let's talk about Harry Potter. I mean, is that book
yeah.
one a great piece of literature? No, it's cute at best,
It's directed towards 10-year-olds, which is
right?
what it was at the time.
Just
Yeah,
relax. And
yep,
and and if he's this good now, and like Madison said, whatever the other trilogy, Lycanium trilogy, whatever,
Lycanius, yeah.
was kind of like meh. She thought it was okay. I'm expecting him to get better and better as he goes, and I think especially with the response that he's had, the recognition of your responsibility as a storyteller goes up, which makes you up your game as you're going, because you got people to buy in now. Well, how do I make absolutely certain that I'm giving them what they need to move forward and enjoy this and have a good time? So I think he's only going to get better as he goes.
Agreed. Yeah. And Eric here says the stadium scene, Islington did a good job with those little bits at the end of the chapters and sections to keep us turning the pages. I'll agree with that. I was invested with the stadium scene, but then, taken out of that investment with the Harry Potter Academy portions. But and everyone's different, right?
And
Everyone's going to yeah, and everyone's different. Everyone's going to experience it different, which is why these conversations are so enjoyable and why we do buddy reads and why we want to hear your thoughts on them as well.
Yeah.
I don't have it like on my computer here where I can share it, but you can actually Google. Someone on Reddit actually went in and they calculated the amount of people and will that is required for the different levels in the hierarchy. So if you want to get really nerdy, go on Reddit and you can Google collected versus usable will by class. There's a whole chart on it. Someone went really in depth and broke all that down, did all the math.
Well, I'm betting Islington did it as well, because he mentions the math at one point, and I feel like that's half of why we're going to the census. Is to realize exactly how big
this
is and what it would mean for the person at the top.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
If a sextus can smash the earth with his fists and throw trees, well, what's Primus going to be like?
Yeah.
What's that going to look like?
Snap a finger and Thanos everyone.
And I'm getting my wife is reminding me that I need to go and jump off a 10-meter board. So
no worries. We're at the end here, regardless. So thank you so much, Andy, for joining me, chatting.
I love you. I just getting the opportunity to talk with you and just hang out like this is A+, because I feel like we don't get. You have to make the opportunities. So the fact that we made an opportunity to do this, I think, is magnificent, and I just love hanging out with you. But I'm really relieved that both of us found something worth pursuing in this story. That was my main fear, is that we were going to spend 650 pages going,
That's always the risk you take, honestly. When you open a book and you're doing a buddy read, that's always the risk you take. But I'm glad we both found stuff we enjoyed. We got to have an in-depth discussion, share some theories. We'll see. We'll have to look back and see how accurate this is later down the road.
Yeah, right. 10 years from now.
Yeah. Yeah, and thanks to everyone who joined us in the read along as well in the Discord, chatting with us and sharing your perspectives as well.
And I really enjoyed this. So if we want to get together as captains or whatever and figure out what we want to do next or let people vote on it, I would love to rinse and repeat and do this again. I would like it to be a book that we feel fairly confident is going to be successful. I would love, provided it doesn't jack up with people's reading TBRs. If we could find something that's on a lot of people's TBRs, that'd be great. But I would love to do this again, because sharing the experience to me has been like, I've never really done this before, and it's been nice.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We'll make some plans for those watching, and if you're in the Discord, send us some ideas in the book chat channel, and we'll take a look. We'll maybe do a vote. We'll figure it out. We'll go from there. But as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching, for chatting with us, and in the meantime, as always, take care of yourselves.
Be good. Bye.
Bye.